This is the Expositor Devotional for Saturday, September 4th, 2021, from the Expositor's Word for Every Day. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. Romans 8 and verse 1. As the subject of the 3rd and 4th chapters of Romans is God declaring how the sinner can be righteous, so the theme of this chapter is God making the sinner holy. This chapter begins with no condemnation and closes with no separation. The subject of Romans 5:12 through 21 is condemnation for all who are in Adam. The theme of this chapter is no condemnation for all who are in Christ. The word condemnation in the Greek is katakrima, which means an adverse sentence, a verdict of guilty. Going back to chapter 7 and verse 24, an Egyptian punishment at that time was to fasten a criminal to a corpse and leave it attached until death. It was a terrible bond, as would be obvious, and the more so because the man bound knew that the bond would result in death. This was possible before Adam's mind when he wrote chapter 7 and verse 24. Such a helpless and hopeless prisoner held in a bond loathsome and fatal would cry out with anguish, "Who can deliver me from this body of death?" This is the mortal condition of all who are in Adam. Christ, in a sense, took this very position in Calvary and died in consequence. But having atoned for all sin, Satan could not hold him in the bondage or captivity of death. So he rose from among the dead and ascended above the highest heavens, having by his death destroyed death. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14. Abolished sin in the flesh, Hebrews 9:26, and exhausted the curse of the law, Galatians 3:13. The glad tidings of the gospel consist in the declaration that all who by faith are in Christ died and rose with him, and there is consequently no person, no thing that can condemn them. For Christ there is now no condemnation. He suffered its fullness indefinitely at Calvary, but he suffered that condemnation there on behalf of and for all who believe, of all who believe upon him. Hence there is no condemnation for us. We are in a new position entirely, beyond and above the reach of everything to which condemnation attacks. Where Christ and all who are in him now stand, there can be no question of sin, of wrath or condemnation, or of imputation of punishment. All such questions were settled before he ascended thither. He is on the throne of God. His person and work accepted because those questions were settled. The glorious truth that liberates the believer's heart is that he is there in the glory with Christ. There is nothing that condemns can reach him. Even when we were dead in sins, has quickened us together with Christ. By grace you are saved, and has raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 5 and 6. The believer is dead to the old life, for he was crucified with Christ. As a partner with Christ, he therefore enjoys all the advantages of the partnership acquired by Christ before he was brought into it. This is not merely an experience, it is a divine operation, apprehended and enjoyed by faith. The Expositor's Word for Every Day is a publication of Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The Expositor Devotional is an outreach of Straight and Narrow Ministries.